26 ordinary people, teachers, salesmen, an engineer, a man who sold insurance, each one, alone in a room, pulled a lever they were told would send 450 volts of electricity into a stranger they had met 20 minutes earlier. The stranger screamed, then begged, then went silent, and they kept going. None of these people were cruel. None of them were sick. They had passed no test for sadism because there was no sadism to find. A week later, they went home to their families and their lawns and their ordinary lives. The voltage they delivered would have killed a man. The question that haunted the man who built this room was not why monsters do terrible things. It was why we do. New Haven, Connecticut, 1961. A young psychologist at Yale named Stanley Milgram has a problem he cannot put down. Across the ocean in a glass booth in Jerusalem, a man named Adolf Eichmann is on trial. Eichmann helped organize the murder of millions, and the world is expecting a beast. What they get instead is a balding, polite bureaucrat who keeps repeating the same defense. He was following orders. He was just doing his job. The phrase lands on Milgram like a splinter he can't dig out, because if Eichmann is telling the truth, if he really is just an ordinary man who followed instructions, then the comfortable story collapses. The story where evil belongs to a special kind of person, someone unlike us. So Milgram builds a machine to test it. He places an ad in the New Haven paper, $4.50 for an hour of your time. A study about memory and learning, it says. Nothing more. 40 men answer. They have no idea what they've walked into. Here is the first thing almost nobody remembers about this experiment. The people in that room believed they were helping science. They were not told to hurt anyone. They were told they were teachers. You arrive at a laboratory at Yale. Clean, official. A man in a gray lab coat greets you. Beside you is another volunteer. Friendly, middle-aged, a little nervous. You draw slips of paper to see who teaches and who learns. You don't know the draw is rigged. You will always be the teacher. The other man is an actor. His name is Jim McDonough, and he is about to give the performance of his life. They strap the learner into a chair in the next room. They attach an electrode to his arm. They mention, almost in passing, that he has a heart condition. Then they take you to a separate room, sit you in front of a long machine of switches, and close the door between you. That door matters more than anything else in this story. Remember it. 30 volts, 45, 60, each switch is labeled. The last ones read, danger, severe shock, and beyond that, 2 switches marked only with a symbol, XXX. Every wrong answer, you move up 1 switch. The voltage climbs, the clock starts, 75 volts. Through the wall, the learner grunts. You glance at the man in the gray coat. He says 4 words. Please continue. 120 volts. The learner shouts that the shocks are getting painful. Your hand hovers. The gray coat speaks again. The experiment requires that you continue. 150 volts. Now he wants out. He shouts that his heart is bothering him, that he refuses to go on, that you have to let him out of here. This is the moment everything begins to come apart. Because you turn to the man in the gray coat and he does not raise his voice. He does not threaten you. He has no weapon, no rank, no power over you at all. He simply says, it is absolutely essential that you continue. And most people do. 210 volts, 275. The screams behind the wall become animal now. The voltage labels stop meaning anything. 300 volts. The learner pounds on the wall. 315. He pounds again, and then nothing. Silence from the next room, no answer to the questions, no sound at all. For all you know, the man strapped to the chair is unconscious. Or worse. The gray coat tells you silence counts as a wrong answer. Keep going. Picture this. A grown man sweating through his shirt, laughing in short, nervous bursts because his nervous system doesn't know what else to do. Pulling levers to electrocute a silent body in the next room is because a stranger in a coat with no power to make him do anything keeps saying 4 calm sentences. That is the image. The man and the coat. The whole experiment lives inside it. 65% of them went all the way. 26 out of 40 pushed past the silence, past the XXX to the final switch. 450 volts. The easy reading writes itself. People are sheep. Tell them to hurt someone and they will. Put a uniform in the room and we surrender our conscience at the door. That's the version everyone repeats. It's also wrong. Here's the part almost nobody quotes. Milgram didn't run the experiment once. He ran it more than 20 different ways. And the number, that famous 65%, meant was just 1 setting on a dial. He spent years turning that dial. And what he found is the real discovery. The one that never makes it onto the poster. When he moved the learner into the same room where the teacher could see him, obedience dropped. When he made the teacher hold the learner's hand down onto the shock plate, skin against skin, it dropped through the floor. When the man in the gray coat gave his orders by telephone instead of standing in the room, obedience collapsed. People lied to him. They pretended to deliver shocks and quietly gave the lowest ones. When two other teachers in the room refused to go on, almost everyone refused with them. Do you see it now? It was never about cruelty. It was never some sleeping beast inside us waiting for permission. The lever could be pulled only when two things stayed true. The authority had to feel close, and the victim had to feel far. Real presence on one side, a wall on the other. The whole machine ran on distance. Milgram's people weren't monsters discovering they were monsters. They were ordinary people who had handed responsibility up the chain to the gray coat and lost sight of the human on the other side of the wall. Take away the wall, make the suffering real, make it touchable, and the conscience switched back on. Every time. And here is where it stops being about 40 men in 1961. You have a gray coat too. We all do. A policy, a spreadsheet, a chain of command, a screen. Every time we let a system stand between our hand and its consequence, we rebuild that room. The door you can't see through is everywhere now. It's the order placed, the button clicked, the cost lined up against a face you'll never meet. The men in that room had one disadvantage you don't have. They couldn't see through the wall. You can choose to. The experiment was never proof that people are bad. It was proof of how cheaply we let ourselves stop looking. 26 people walked out of a building in New Haven, got into their cars, and drove home to dinner, never knowing the man in the next room was alive, never knowing they'd been the experiment all along. The wall is still standing. It's just thinner than they think. What's on the other side of yours?